we're going to be doing 3.2, building with reptiles. You guys need a pencil and your notebooks on your desk.
Copies can be put together to make a larger, similar shape. The small triangle below is a reptile. The two large triangles are formed from copies of this reptile. Can you explain why each large triangle is similar to the small triangle?
Okay, so this, first and foremost, is not a reptile. This is a different kind of reptile. Okay, so a reptile is saying that you use this shape to form larger shapes. So copies of this smaller one can be formed to make larger triangles. So can anyone explain why this smaller one is similar to these two triangles?
That smaller one fits congruently into the bigger one.
Okay. Someone else? Matthew.
It has all the same angle measurements and it has a scale factor.
Okay. And what was the scale factor from this one to one of these?
2.
Good. And you can see how this is one side length, and you have 1, 2 to make that. And then also on this side it's 1, 2. So the scale factor going from the small one to the bigger one is 2. What's up, Katie? Go ahead and read.
Today we will investigate several shapes to see which of them are reptiles. I'm going to show you 2 shapes. The first shape is a reptile and the second is not. Look at the shapes carefully and tell me what you think a reptile is.
Okay, so based on the last slide, we said those rectangles, or I'm sorry, those triangles are reptiles. So based on that slide, do you think a square is a reptile? Trevor?
Yes,
Yes. Why do you say that?
because you can take four of them in a bigger shape.
Okay, let's see if he's right. So if you keep adding squares, you can make a bigger square just adding on copies of the smaller one. Therefore, this square is a reptile. Let's try another one. Is a circle a reptile? Joey?
No, because if you keep adding on circles, it's not going to be able to fit together without spaces in between.
Absolutely right. So if we fit the circles together, notice there's a gap in the middle. And together, do they form another circle? No. Right? So that's not a reptile. Let's look at a few more examples. So here are 2 more shapes. The triangle is a reptile, but the hexagon is not. Now what do you think a reptile is? So we said that they fit together in the last slide. These hexagons fit together, so why is it not a reptile? Cecily?
Because it's not forming to be a hexagon, it's just forming to be something.
Right. Right. So put together, this hexagon does not form a bigger hexagon. Even though they fit together nicely, it's not a reptile. Okay, so here's the examples we went over. The triangle is a reptile, the square is a reptile, the hexagon and the circles are not reptiles. Alright, so I want you guys to copy this table down in your notebooks. Take about 1 or 2 minutes to copy this down. So today we're going to be investigating with different shapes and trying to figure out which ones are reptiles and which ones are not reptiles. We'll get started on that investigation momentarily. Again, you don't need to have the lines in your chart, as long as you just have the important information, words and figures and numbers. That will be just fine. So about 30 more seconds for the table. Okay, so on your desk, you're in groups of 4. So each of you should have a plastic bag. Inside each plastic bag are 13 shapes. 13 shapes. We're going to try to figure out which of those 13 are reptiles and which are not. So go ahead and get started. You're going to be working in groups. We're going to do the first one together. So find the triangle that's labeled A. Triangle that's labeled A. Alright, so we're going to be trying to put 4 copies of that triangle together to make a larger version of it. So each of you should have 4. Each group should have 4 of those small triangles. So the first one is actually done for you on the slide. So this is triangle A. We can fit them together like this, all 4 of them, to make a bigger triangle. So the number of reptiles used was 4. We had 4 smaller triangles fit together to make a bigger one. The scale factor going from the small one to the large one is 2. Because this is one side length and it doubles in the triangle figure. All the side lengths are doubled on the big one. But then going from the big one down to the small one, it's going to be 1/2. The scale factor will be 1/2. Does anyone notice any different relationship between scale factor from small to large and scale factor from large to small? Close.
It's reciprocal of each other.
Very good. So they're always going to be reciprocal to each other. 2 and 1/2. So that's how you do A. So let's look at B. B is a square. So work with your group and try to put the squares together to form a larger square. You're going to be trying to do this with each shape, each letter shape. I'm glad you noticed the board. So, up here on the board, I made a little table. We started with A, and we're just going to go straight across. If your group finds a reptile, come up and write it on the board.
Can I have all your pages?
Starting with A.
How many are not?
By the look of it, I think B's, P's, and R's are not.
I think R is easier because you can take notes.
See how the sides are.
Yeah, R is one.
Now come around, see how you guys are doing.
And where's R?
Can I have all your guys' pages?
Can I have all your T's? I mean your R's.
Can I?
Can I have your R's?
We go pick up one.
How is this group doing? Good. Which one are you working on? G. So G can be tricky. Be careful with G. It might be look easier than it is. Very good. Alright, so guys, as you find them and as they record it on the board, I want you to write this in your journals. Make sure you're writing this information down.
I did
Did you guys get G? That's a good job. You should do it like that. If it was stacked on top of each other, just all in a vertical row, would that work? So like, would this work? Why would that not work? Right. I got it. So it has to be the same shape. Good. Keep going.
What are you trying to do?
Guys, make sure you label your shapes. not, we can go.
Oh, we have to do it dry.
Alright, once you guys have that last one, go ahead and sit down. We're going to take a look at this. See what we have here.
Okay, so I'm giving back my. Okay, give me back. You guys took a shake from me. No, I have B. I have A. I think I have A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, go. Kathy? L, what? Jackson.
Okay, we're going to stop for a minute and look at our chart. 1, 2, and 3. It should be quiet. Alright, let's take a look at this chart. So, A we did together as a class, and we said that A was a reptile. We did 4 of them together to make a bigger triangle. The scale factor going from small to large is 2, and then from large to small is 1/2. Let's look at B. How many of you agree that B is a reptile? Raise your hands. Good. Good, you guys are right. So again, we can put them together to make a bigger square. Number of reptiles is 4. Scale factor from small to large is 2. From large to small is 1/2 again. Let's look at R. What about R? R is a trapezoid. Does that work? How many of you agree? Good. K looks good. K looks good. So G and J are both rectangles. Did they fit together good? Yeah? Alright, so one thing I noticed about J, if you stack them on top of each other, does that work as well or no? Why does that not work if you stack them on top of each other? Carlos.
It does not work because if you stack it on top of each other, it'll be horizontal. And
Right.
you want it to be vertical.
So is it going to be another rectangle? Is it going to be the same shape as the
No, it's not
original?
the same shape as the original.
Very good. So L was a parallelogram, it looks like?
Yeah.
How many of you agree that L? Did you guys do L? Okay. So do you guys notice a pattern here on the table? Do you guys notice any patterns on this table? If so, what are they? Lily, go ahead.
The number of reptiles used, scale factor, and scale factor from large to small all stay the same through all of them.
Right. So the reptiles is always 4, the scale factor is always 2, and the other scale factor from large to small is always 1/2. Keep this in mind. We're going to be discussing this in more detail over the next couple lessons. All right, keep working. We have a couple more shapes to go.